we're like standing and the guy's like, there's no way this is actually 5 pounds. And I'm like, dude, it's 5 pounds. And he's like trying to figure out exactly like how. And I'm like, dude, trust me, it's 5 pounds. So that's how.
So it was a dude this time?
That's exactly how it happened. And I was like, $20 or no deal.
So $20 for 5 pounds.
$20 is $20.
Yeah, that's true. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what we like to call the AudioControl Unveil Show. I just made that up. I have no idea what we want to call it. But hey, we got two great gentlemen. We have some great gentlemen here.
We
we have
a couple of guys.
To this side over here, we have Matthew Palumbo coming to us all the way from the Pacific Northwest, AudioControl headquarters. Hey, Matthew, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Dean?
I'm just buzzing with excitement. And then sitting in my middle, the man that this guy. Everybody knows who he is. We have
Fernando Smith.
Hola.
Hola.
We have Mr. Jeff Smith.
Fernando Smith.
You know, I think this is the first time we've had you guys together as AudioControl. You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've talked. You know, this is weird because this is like two of our biggest show sponsors that have combined into one, which is just so odd.
Yeah.
It's just, but hey, that means good things because now we have stuff closer to us to play with. And today we have a ton of cool stuff to play with. How the show is going to break down is we're going to talk to you about the beta software because it is constantly changing. What version are we on now?
So right now we have what I just gave you a sneak peek of is 14 something. It's an internal beta before we go full public release. So just going to kind of go over that, but we're going to have a full public release once we've gone through all the beta stages. It'll be full blown.
We're getting that close.
We're getting that close.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we'll talk more about that as time goes on. And then we're going to talk with Matthew because hold it up for me. Hold up the big one. Look at that. We're going to talk to you about subwoofers. And then we're going to end the show. Okay, well, we're going then to this area over here. We have it all set up. We're going to go to the Fernando cam, and we're going to see some really cool stuff out of frame that we're going to touch on. We can't get too deep, but we're going to touch it. We're going to touch it a lot, and it's going to like it. And then we'll take some questions. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, save them. Fernando will go through there, and we'll get to them. But I tell you what, why don't we hop right into it if everyone's ready, and we'll get to the software. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up. We'll do not that. That was trippy. And we'll tap that. All right. Let me get rid of this banner here on the top. Okay.
Start with the input view.
All right. I tell you what, I'm just going to move this over here so that
you drive.
I'm going to let you drive.
Jeff, take the wheel.
Jeff takes the wheel.
All right. So you grabbing another cam for this? Or what are you doing?
Nope, you're good.
All right.
Getting this one set, ready to go.
So one of the things that we've done in this new version of the DM Smart software, like I said, we've been going through, a few much well-needed updates in the DM Smart software because there was definite room for improvement. The software has always been extremely user-friendly and easy to operate. But one of the things we did first and foremost was we kind of wanted to guide the installer or the user in a little bit different pattern so that they would be able to understand where the inputs and outputs should go out of the box. Because a lot of times, a lot of people just wouldn't understand input 1, 2, 3, 4, things like that. And they would mix and match and they wouldn't understand why one will be mono and the other would be stereo.
Yeah, which I feel like on the 810 and the 608, you really... You got to
lose people.
Yeah.
So with that being said, me and Matthew talked a lot. When Matthew came in, he was like, these are all the things that we're trying to do. And we kind of worked with the engineering team to get these, fixes done to make more sense to the end user or whoever's actually tuning behind the wheel. So we went ahead and pre-populated the input names and positions that would make the most sense for system integration. right?
Yep.
So even on the product itself, it already was in the silk screen. On RCAs, it would say 1, 2 front, but the software never said it, right?
Why
So,
would it?
Yeah,
I mean,
so it
come
just
on,
made
Matthew,
perfect
what the
sense,
heck?
right?
I blame you.
Just made perfect sense. So
That would make way too much sense.
yeah,
I know.
input view is done that way. A few things that we also did in the input view is that there used to be a time delay adjustment in the input view,
Correct.
right? But the bad part about that was, how are you going to measure that? How would you as a technician, forget a do-it-yourselfer, right? Everybody out there in do-it-yourself land, but how are you going to measure the input view?
You know, it was one of those features that totally escaped me.
Right.
The only person I think that got it was Brandon.
Yes.
And that was it. And
Right.
we all just kind of smiled and said, yes.
All right. So that's one of the features that technically should be in the DMRTA, not necessarily in the DSP. So just think about
Yes, please.
everything we're doing in the DM Smart software. There's going to be a huge improvement to the DMRTA.
Oh, and there's
right?
teaser number 1.
Right.
Way to go, Jeff! All right, he spoiled it already.
Trust me, you have no idea what that thing is going to do.
Okay.
All right. So that was removed from the input view, right? So input view, of course, you can see your incoming signal, whether it's full range, whether you're bringing in a multi-element, pre-crossed over, pre-EQ from the OEM system, and you'll be able to see it all populate here in the spectrograph here, right? Then you also have, like I said, we took the input away for being able to adjust input delay. Then going over to output view, now you have the outputs pre-selected and pre-named so that you know which output should go to what drivers. Right?
Now this is a 51300, and me being a big front stage upgrade guy, I feel like you've had me just braid you enough with this. I don't use a 5-channel for front rear sub. I use it for tweeter mid. So I see that you've pre-populated with tweeter mid and sub.
Yep. That's what we find that a lot of people do. They do a front stage upgrade, then they go the 2 RCAs out to either a smaller like ACM 2300 or to any other amplifier for the rears.
Conveniently says rear now.
Right. Exactly. So it made more sense. If someone's going to do a true 5-channel system, all they have to do is just go in and simply go to the title and double click it in order to go in and name this rear if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. They could totally do that. But we wanted to make sure that this was all done in a way that kind of guide them, in a certain way.
And we went for cap lock, so it's yelling at me.
Yes. That was all me. I want it big where everybody can see it.
I wanted it bold.
Yep, wanted it bold. So there's no problem knowing exactly which input and output goes to which ones, which channels. The other thing is that we also renamed, instead of output summing, now it says signal summing, to kind of give that more of a cohesive idea of what's going on here. This was probably one of the best parts, is that you wouldn't believe the meetings we would have week after week to go over all these little intricate things, because before, the older software, it didn't say high pass crossover on the left side of the crossover bar. It literally just was link with Riley, and there was no indication that it was high pass or low pass. So there again, all these little details were added. The safety net crossovers. So in most two-way systems, if you're doing a two-way upgrade with a 5-channel, there are safety net crossovers in place. 3.5K at 24 dB, nothing on the low pass, so you're going to go 3.5K and up. On the mid-range, you're going to be band passed from 3.5K down to 90, then sub 90 and down. Now, don't get me wrong, these are all safety net crossovers.
Right.
So that anyone setting up a system.
We even set up the output.
Correct.
Very nice.
So that anyone setting up a system is going to have the ability to turn their system on and not worry about blowing anything up.
That is
right.
That is really
so
cool.
For all the do-it-yourselfers and even retailers that are in the bay putting in these systems, this is going to be an easy way to get in and check things without having to go in and redo all the work.
Because there's a lot of times, you build the process. It's like, okay, I've sat in a car plenty of times, and it's like for the first 15 minutes after we're done, I have to plug in a laptop, start assigning all this stuff. So I can immediately go in, make sure I have my fader, check my polarity.
Right.
So very cool.
Yeah. Same thing with the input summing. You have the channels of input going to the right channels as well, so that at least you're going to have a good way of having audio coming into the system and being able to go out, right? So your line output is going to be a summation of the front 2 channels of input, right? And then your output from there.
Okay.
Another thing that a lot of people, and I know it may be, if they're a retailer, they've done this before, but even some retailers don't even remember this. And don't get me wrong, I became new to audio control a little bit over a year ago as far as using it on a daily basis because it wasn't in our wheelhouse. So when Matthew and the whole team of audio control came over, now it became, okay, Jeff, I got to learn every detail about this because DSP is like what
Jeff.
Because I'm Jeff.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the neatest things about the delay section is that most people don't realize if you leave it in inches, it will auto calculate for you. And I've asked so many dealers and done trainings and they're like, oh, we didn't know that. So when you flip between inches and milliseconds and go back, it kills it.
Yeah.
Because if you just put it in inches or centimeters, any measurement, distance measurement does auto calculation, right? So going back and forth is where it's going to screw people up, where it takes away all of the auto calculation.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, there's no point. If you do the calculation right, if you do the step-by-step process that we are going to outline for people when we start doing our this is how we tune, right? You will see exactly how it all lines up.
And so what you're talking about then, because anytime we talk to a DSP manufacturer, I always ask, do I have to do math?
Correct.
And they all just kind of look at you. What do you mean? I was like, okay, so do I just type in my measurements or do I have to find my 0 point?
Right.
And the 0 point is usually the passenger front speaker.
Right. The one that's furthest away from you.
And then you'd subtract and get those, get your inches of leftover, and that's what you'd put in.
Correct.
But you guys have a calculator built into this. So
built-in calculator, do all the work for you.
Very nice.
All right. So before we go through this, this is just a software update for programming. Is there anything do I need to be done to the amplifier? I just bought it a year ago. It's a 1300.
Nope, not at all.
It's just software. It's no physical changes to the product itself. And on top of that, guys, it will work with anything in the D series family. So DM608, DM810, D6.1200, D5.1300, D4.800. Whether you bought it a year ago or 6 years ago, this is going to work with it. No physical changes are required to the product.
Yep, just an update, just a software update.
Yep.
So the other thing is that one of the other neat features is that everyone knows what AccuBase is and how it can restore bass roll-off, but one of the hidden features that was added here was the ability to now enable all-pass filters that's found under the tools section. And when you do that, it shrinks AccuBase down to half the screen, and now are you going to put it in Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you have the ability to apply up to 2 all-pass filters to every set of channels.
Now, so it's per channel.
It's per channel. So left channel has 2, right channel has 2, channel 1, 2, 3 has 2, channel 3 has 2, channel 4 has 2. So there's 2 per channel.
Individual.
Yep.
No, what I was going to say when you were talking about changing for delay,
yes,
it's not like you can accidentally do it.
Correct. You physically have to go in and screw it up.
You got to go in there and screw it up. Yes, I wasn't going to say it like that, but since you did, we'll go with it.
All right.
It's already set for that.
I have one more question. Yes, that was always confusing, especially in the DM608. But what about going active, like 3-way active front with the epicenter for the subwoofer? Would I need a separate amplifier for the rear?
If you're doing a DM608, you're going to have either multi-channel amplifiers or something already going on. But if you're using the epicenter for the subwoofer, only then you would come out of your DM608 into your epicenter, out of the epicenter to your sub amp, and use the crossover in your sub amp. Okay, that would be the proper...
No, I'm just over here smoking.
that would be the proper way to apply it. Yeah.
So and that means in the 608 software, whatever your subwoofer output is, put that up higher.
Correct.
It needs to be above. Put somewhere around 200 hertz.
Yeah. 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
I mean, actually, if it's subwoofer, yeah, about 200 hertz is fine, because it's only going to affect those frequencies that come in below that. So this is where the biggest confusion comes into play, is because when Epicenter first came out, and everyone's been around Epicenter from years ago, the way it was always explained was to put it in the front of the system. Okay, and that's so that it affected mid bass and sub bass.
Okay,
right, because it has the ability to affect anything below 300 hertz. Right. So if a song didn't have a good mid bass or sub bass, it could affect everything. But now the same epicenter, concert series epicenter, can still go in the front of a whole system. It has a single knob. The issue is when you do epicenter micro in front of a system, because it has sub-level and epicenter effect. Now that sub-level becomes master volume for the whole system. That's when you're using it in that scenario. If you're using it for a traditional epicenter because it has RCA in and out after the DSP, or high-level in if it's that scenario. But anytime you're using it with the DSP, put it after the DSP on the subwoofer output side.
And also, too, a lot of the new like amp pros and stuff like that are toss link out, and people want to use the toss link, so you have to go toss. And I say it wrong intentionally. From the amp pro to the DSP, so you're only going to have RCAs as an output.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing that was there a question?
Move your question.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Come on, man. Chop chop.
So the other thing that we did also was there used to be, we added parametric EQ.
Yep.
Right, which is really neat for those who can understand parametric equalization. How you need less bands than graphic, because you can do everything from boost and Q to be able to.
Wait, whoa! You said boost. Why are you boosting, bro?
I mean, you never know when you got a frequency that's down, a couple dB, you need to bring it up so you have the ability to do boost or cut. Now you got to remember, you're not actively connected to a DSP, so some things don't work exactly the way that they should.
Yeah. No, I'm having fun.
So the EQ used to be 2 graphic EQs and then 1 parametric EQ. So we've taken away.
Oh yeah.
We've taken away the 14 band graphic because it was pretty much pointless at this time.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're either doing 30 band graphic or you're doing 10 band parametric per channel. Right.
Correct.
We took that away, and now we've actually made the graph for your graphic EQ work a little bit differently now. It does the same thing on parametric EQ. But now all the numbers line up with each dot as well. And now you only have adjustments in half dB increments.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because you remember before you would take a slide and you would slide
it. I remember.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
Senior Jeff.
How did I get to 8.7 dB? Right? So now all the adjustments are only in half dB increments for booster cut.
Wait, hold on. I got to try something.
Move it fast. Watch it. You're not gonna
it's not gonna work for me because
it's just the it doesn't.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
See,
look so hold on. This is the test here.
The arrows.
No, it goes
the
back.
arrow keys.
Yes,
that was my thing.
Zero.
That was my thing, right?
Senior Jeff.
That was my thing, is that I can never get it back to zero, guys. Like I'm literally trying to tune this scenario.
So we are nerds.
Yes,
we are nerds.
We are 100% nerds. So
yeah, we are definitely nerds.
And a lot of people always. AudioControl's made a lot of
cool.
total error.
Is that responsive?
Parametric is a little weird because
we're not there.
Yeah, you got to come down and click on the dots for the band.
Yeah, I've managed to break this already.
Yeah, because we're not connected to a device, so it does that. But what's really neat though, is that in the gray box down here at the bottom, you can go in and type in the specific frequency that you want.
There you go.
So if you need 212 hertz or whatever, you just you can go right into it just like that. It may not do it because it's not live connected.
Right.
So
yeah.
But
because I can break things. And then of course, still we have
left and right EQ. And that's another scenario where when 1 and 2 are highlighted, it's stereo equalization. When you break it away from left and right, 1 and 2, it's separate left and right. You can't go back and forth.
Right.
Not saying we can't figure that out maybe later, but for right now, like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any other little nuggets?
Something else added in there was that polarity flip, Jeff. Remember previously we were only able to flip polarity on a pair of channels. Don't ask me why, because that is pretty much worthless. Now you can actually flip polarity on every single channel individually. Imagine that.
That's right. Yeah, it's in the delay page.
Yep. So now it works the way most people are expecting it to work.
Can we retitle this to delay and polarity?
We probably could. It's just like the summing sections.
It'll probably take one, trust me.
It used to say input summing, and now it just says signal summing. You wouldn't believe how many phone calls that will alleviate. Like, people look at little tiny things like that and go, big deal. Who cares? It's like, well, when we get 30 phone calls a day on what input summing means, it's kind of a big deal. So,
all right.
Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of
crossovers too, Jeff.
Yep. There's
New crossover points.
Yep. Additional crossover added for Butterworth for 18 dB proactive Butterworth, where before that was only 12 and 24 link with Riley. So for those people who like the sound of a Butterworth because of speaker locations and off-axis response because of the phase relation with crossover, phase relation with crossover points and stuff like that. So yeah, we added 18 dB proactive
and bypass
and the ability to totally shut off the high pass or low pass crossovers by moving the bars all the way out to each end in order to set it to bypass.
Yeah, it used to go up to 20K and it went down to 25. A later revision allowed it to go down to 20 hertz, but occasionally we get that guy who is a bass head, has 18-inch woofers, whatever, wants to have no crossover on the bottom end, no roll off or subsonic, so to speak. So yes, now you can drag it all the way down. We're not rolling off anything on the bottom end. And for you high res enthusiasts out there, you can drag it all the way to the top, and we are no longer rolling off at 20K. Because previously the minimum you could have done was 12 dB at 20K. Now you can just bypass it on the top end.
Right. So RTA memories, what's gone?
I never even clicked on this.
Really?
No, because why would I?
House curve.
House curve is gone now.
Like I said, why would I have ever clicked on this?
I know people are going to be like, why would you guys take away house curve? Well, house curve is an acoustical measurement, not an electrical measurement. So actually having the house curve in the DSP really didn't make sense, because if someone was trying to set their EQ to match the house curve, that's an electrical curve that doesn't represent what's actually being heard in the vehicle from the microphone or the actual response. So we took that out because that actually needs to live only in the DMRTA. So
when this says store, so if I want, let's say I did 1, I could store 1, and I could go to 2, and I could recall 2, and it would clone 2.
No, so if you want to look
kind of
at
ghost it in the background.
Oh, okay. So this is ghosting.
Like how the house curve used to be.
This is just like the DMRTA where.
So
because remember, you have an RTA going at the same time, Dean. You have an RTA that's overlaying over your EQ. It ghosts that RTA as like a screenshot over the EQ.
So you can have an electrical.
So you can look at the electrical response of what it's doing, and if you need to see what is different from an OEM input signal, right? If you need to see what's different between the two, then you'd be able to see the one ghosted in the background and overlay the other one in front of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
There's going to be a whole nother wait to new DMRTA.
I'm fine. It's all good.
So do you ever use that button that says RTA?
So I've used it in the past, but I don't typically use it because it's missing one feature. I can't switch between 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 here.
Oh, gotcha. When you pull that there.
Yeah. So when I pull it up, it won't allow me to toggle back. So that's cool. Odd and even. What is?
That's 1 and 2 basically. I guess you have to be live when you do
probably.
that. Yeah. See, there you go. So that would technically be. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should change this from odd and even to 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that way, see, this is why we have these meetings.
Yeah.
We're going to get you in on the meetings.
Yeah.
Right? So that's all that is. When you click on RTA, that is your channel 1. That's your channel 2. When you link them together, it goes back to 1 and 2 together.
It'd be really cool there.
What's that?
My one feature that I absolutely would love, like this would make my world just like would be if mute was located somewhere in here for channel.
Mute per channel?
Yeah.
All right.
Because the problem that you run into is, let's say I'm doing 1 and then I need to do 2. I got to go back up to the top of the page. I got to flip them and I got to come back down. And I'm like, my fingers hurt.
All right, Matt, that's Wednesday's meeting.
Yeah. Try to make Dean's workflow a little smoother.
Yeah.
I get it because you need to mute back and forth.
Seriously though, I mean, a lot of the changes we make are to improve the workflow. Like literally,
that's literally why we're laughing, because most of the stuff is just him going
such minute little things. I know I've been asked recently, can we put the frequencies on the RTA that are on the bottom? Can we put them on the top so that when they scroll down, they don't have to go as far? It's like, I mean, I don't see why not. It's not traditional, but I mean, it makes somebody's life easier.
Here, and then you gotta come down here, and you gotta go like that. And
hey, it's still beta.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
See at the top.
Well,
here, it says
entitling things like that are easy.
testing.
Oh yeah, this one says for
Yeah.
internal testing.
Internal testing only.
Yeah.
No,
Come on, man, stop it.
I will not be
D.
tuning that 608 with this one. No. All right. All right.
And then, of course, dashboard view gives you the overall view
Yeah,
of everything
which
that you have the ability to
I-
look at.
Yep. There it
But
is.
you just can't, when you go to click on this RTA here, it's just going to bring up the other one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, that is kind of cool. That's a new feature, right?
No, that's been there for a while, but a lot of people never really clicked on that before. So.
No.
Yeah, it's always said tap to expand, but just nobody ever does it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know that a lot of people really use dashboard view at all. I know a lot of
I've never
installers that
used
just do input output. I'm one of those guys. My own
Yeah.
cars, I've just always used input output, but some people
Yeah.
love dashboard view, so we've kept it there for them. The hardcore audio control enthusiasts that have used this software a million times are looking at dashboard view right now going, it looks different. We did have to pull out one RTA. So
Yeah.
dashboard view used to have input RTA, and output EQ,
Yeah, that's what
but to make space and resources available to do parametric and all pass, which were the two most,
Way
two
more
most
important.
data hungry, consumption items, we had to give up something. And it's like, hey, if that's what we have to give up, that's fine. It's still there. It's just on another tab. You just have to go to
I was
Because in the early days, your computer's fan would spool
Oh, I
up
know.
because the CPU would be like,
Uh-huh.
save me!
I mean,
smoke a
I was
battery in
using
like
this
10
whole
minutes.
page to have mute. I'm just saying, if this page has to go so I can have my mute feature, I'm cool
All
with
right,
that.
that's it. Dashboard view is gone. We're just
That's
gonna
That's
get
it.
rid
You
of
can
that.
lose that, man. We can spread these things out. Heck yeah.
That's the good thing, man, is that we move pretty fast according to what we come up with. Me and Matthew talk to all you guys at shows and at visiting dealers and things like that. Then we come back to the engineering team with real world data, and we look at the functionality part of it to make sure we're not just making something to appease one person, but we do things that make sense to the average workflow of most installers and tuners. So.
I don't know how to take that.
It's a good thing though. Think about how many things you said. Hey man, you know what? This would be nice to have.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is.
What about using the epicenter with DSP amplifiers?
It's totally possible.
Yep.
We don't epicenter can go anywhere, everywhere. We never shy away from epicenters.
Well, the
in any
DSP
system.
amplifiers are all RCA input, so
Well, that and they have RCA output. If he's using like a D6 1200, but is also going to use a sub amp, he can go out of that D612 into an epicenter into a sub amp. Or if he's using a D5 1300 is the one where it gets a little bit goofy because guys will look at that and go, well, the amplifier channel is built in. How am I going to do this? Especially if they're going high level input, but it's still doable. They can either loop it using the outputs and back to the in, or they can just put the epicenter first.
Yeah.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
I've had guys do 8 channels of high level input, some internally, use the RCA outs to go to an epicenter micro and then back to the input of the D5 for the RCA
Well, if you're
in.
using
And
an
it works.
epicenter micro, just use the high level in that and call it a day.
You definitely
Yeah.
could. Some guys do it that way because of the summing, though. Sometimes they have to use the summing in the D5 to get the signal they need or whatever. But there's a number of different ways to do it. There's no perfect, perfect way, I guess.
Yep. So are we going to release a beta again, or we're going to full?
The next one's going to be full tilt production.
So we talking a month?
It depends on how long it takes us to do your mute feature.
Okay. So it's going to be like 6 months.
No.
Depends on how many little titles we have to change, how many
Yeah.
odds and evens we have to turn into ones and twos.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't be that long. Like the internal testing's been going on for a little bit of time. And there's even some stuff. I know you like your hidden features and things like that. There is so much stuff with the DM Smart DSP that we haven't even told you about. That when the full release comes out, there's a lot of other features that are going to surprise you.
Mhm.
All right. So we're
Yeah, my
done.
Android users are going to love me pretty
The
soon.
end?
All right, so let's just finish that
No,
one.
we're
That's
gonna
it?
no, we're gonna save it to the end.
Okay.
Just save it to the end. Sorry, we got to move on because we have way more exciting stuff that we want to get to, and we could answer amp questions all night long. We'll get one of these guys back on if we need to do that because we have way cooler stuff that we want to talk about. Matthew, I tell you what, I'm not gonna say that. I have an 8-inch. You have a 12-inch.
Ooh.
Let me. I want to go.
I've got an 8 as well, but as you mentioned, ooh, mine's bigger.
Yes, it is. Look at that.
Ooh.
So
Look at that.
mine obviously
Beautiful
has a
blue
grill
back.
on it. Now we've been talking about this for a long time, so let's just start.
Yeah.
A little bit of backstory is always helpful. This idea has been brewing at AudioControl for years now.
Yep.
Way long. And well, they're here, so this is cool because I mean we've been standing. We stood out front of AudioControl headquarters and fantasized about this product, and to actually be here holding it in our hands today. What am I holding? Tell me. Talk to me.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about it. So, releasing right now and starting to, get out there into the world is a couple of new series of subwoofers. The one that we're holding right now is the Spike series, aptly named after the little mascot there, Spike, from the catalogs, for those of you that are enthusiasts and seen them for years. So the Spike series is what I call the daily driver subwoofer, right? Like this is your everyday ground pounder, great all-around sub. Ooh, careful now. So,
it's heavy, right?
AudioControl has wanted to do subwoofers and speakers and all this stuff and be a full line manufacturer for a long time, but we just really hadn't had the resources and the people to do it. We didn't have a acoustic engineer or a speaker designer in house. However, now we do, right? Being part of the AMP Global umbrella has kind of opened us up for that. So really, as soon as the acquisition was final and we started getting our feet under us, we started planning a speaker line, a subwoofer line. And we've been working on it for over a year. And so we're finally ready. And, AudioControl did something cool that I don't think we've ever done since I've been with the company anyway. And that is keep it a secret. We never keep anything a secret. We are the worst. AudioControl is the best at talking about it and then going, oh, check this out. It's so cool. And then we don't give it to you for like 2 years, So
you mean like that? Okay, back.
We'll talk about that in a second. So, with the Spike series, like I said, these are meant to be your everyday, all-around good, versatile subwoofer. Works in a sealed box, vented box, of course. They work in pretty small enclosures. They handle quite a bit of power, especially for a woofer that's in this category. And that grill, I think, is gorgeous, maybe because I helped design it anyway. They all come with the grills, right? So, yeah, I'm just going to pat myself on the back there, along with a few others. It wasn't just me. But the Spike series comes in an 8, a 10, and a 12. They all come with the grills included. Your pricing on them, we can talk pricing later, but we're talking in the $200 to $300 price range between the 8 to 12. We'll just leave it at that. That's close enough. And power handling wise, that 8 will handle up to 500 RMS. The 12 is going to handle up to 700 RMS. It's a lot of power handling for a sub that's in the $250 to $300, whatever price category. They're pretty bad woofers. And, for the enthusiasts out there, for the guys that love AudioControl just as a brand, there's even some cool little Easter eggs built into these. Like, you can find Spike on the back of the woofer if you look hard enough. You can find, yep. You gotta get real close to see him on there. He's tiny. He's laser etched, engraved. And then there's a do not deep fry or saute embedded in there as well. So there's some cool stuff.
Number 4.
Here?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there it is. There's Spike. There's that little laser etched badge for you. I think that's
and all the
cool
amplifiers are single voice call?
All the subwoofers?
Yeah, so all the subwoofers are single coil. We wanted to just go, AudioControl likes to keep it simple. That's our whole thing. And I think there's a lot of misconception out there that a dual voice coil is somehow better than a single voice coil. Really, it's just about versatility of wiring, right? Getting different impedances from the same woofer, etc. And so with these, we went with just single coils. They're available in a single 2 or a single 4. They have a nice mica-coated paper cone. So the back of it has that cool raw pulp paper look if you look at the back side of the cone there. I always loved that when I was younger, especially. I don't know why. I just always thought it looked kind of badass, And then, you've got that nice double-stitched high-roll foam surround. we can get into all the nerdy specs later if we want to, but
Yeah.
pretty cool. One of the questions I see are, does the grills, are the grills removable? They absolutely are. They basically tuck between the surround and the gasket, and so they're easy to put in. They come pre-installed when you take it out of the box, but you can definitely peel that gasket off, just like Dean is doing now. Just manhandle it, and that grill just pops right off, and away you go.
Yep. So you don't have to buy it. Comes with it.
Yep.
And I can
Comes
tell
with
you,
it.
taking it off the first time is not as effortless as that. It is a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
more-
if you're strong like me, it is. If you're
if
kind
you're
of
big like Bull, you're good.
But yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it's just
they're
a nice thing to
pretty
sell
straightforward.
someone, because it makes it,
Bite your tongue.
added value. Dude, you know how hard it is to sell a grill to someone? Like, it's
Oh,
always an afterthought for most people.
Yes.
Well, it's not only that, but
Until
most,
you
when is it in
poke
stock?
a hole into it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Or
right.
if it's not in stock, right? So yeah.
Well, yeah, and
just
if you're
include it.
if you're a dealer watching this and you're looking at this and you carry other brands that we won't mention, I've been a dealer for some of those other major brands, and you're stocking literally 12 to 30 grills for one brand, because it's like, their slim uses a different grill than their standard depth, and you got all the different sizes, and a lot of times those grills $30 to $60, $80 a piece. And like Jeff said, a lot of times it's an afterthought. It's like, oh, the quote's already done, the system's already done. Oh yeah, you know what, man? Throw a couple of grills in there. Well, 2 grills can be $100 or more. Like it can be a big difference. So
All right, so let me
Pull that one
put
up real
this one
quick.
right here.
What design feature do we have for cooling?
sure. So Dean's kind of showing them right now there. You can see the cooling vents all the way around the outside there, and there is a vented pole piece where his finger is as well. And we can get into all the more technical terminology and stuff here when we pull up the manual or the owner's manual, etc. So yeah, so we've got some cool features and stuff in here. Honestly, like, we really tried to focus on stuff that mattered. I think a lot of brands do something different where they create their own terminology for features that pretty much every subwoofer has, right? And so we didn't want to fool anybody or ourselves into like, oh, it has this wild tech that's really the same as others. With subwoofers, there's only so much technology and features out there. But we really tried to incorporate what we thought was important and not create fake names for them, right? I didn't want to become the acronym king and sit here and make up names for the type of surround that it is and the type of cone material and this, that, and the other.
I was PFM just keeps blaring through my ears right
Oh,
now.
I know, man. Trust me, I know. That is not my doing, my friend. Not my doing.
Yeah.
So,
Moving on.
Yep. So some cool stuff there with the Spike
8
series. Those are
10-inch,
Yep.
and 12-inch.
No,
Correct.
15.
No,
No
15.
15s.
no 15 and no 6.5. Those have been the two that I've been asked so far. Are there going to be those, this, that, and the other?
Yeah, like somebody asked right here, it's gonna be a 6.5.
Let's
Right.
get through the
Yeah,
first
and,
couple of these.
exactly. Yeah, let's get through the first models and a couple runs first, and then we'll work on some more stuff. Because the other thing to keep in mind, guys, everybody watching this is, just because this is what we're releasing initially doesn't mean there's not more coming. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go.
About the space.
Yeah,
We
and
have
there's
another
a,
one. Yeah.
Yep. And there's a comment there, like the up to 700 watts RMS. If you look at the continuous power handling that's up on the screen right now, you'll see that we list a minimum, an ideal, and a maximum. So we're saying that's the most we would recommend continuous power, 700 RMS. We would say, an ideal number would be, slightly less than that. You were just on it a second ago. Yeah, 500 is ideal. So, I mean, it just depends on what your configuration is. Do you have the side of the box, Dean?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to say that would be a good thing to show. What we tried to do, like I was mentioning a minute ago, is rather than give you guys a bunch of fake marketing terminology that we just made up or make up acronyms for, like we've done and lots of companies have done in the past, instead we decided to come up with a pairing section. There we go. So we just wrote nice little terminology on the side there that has recommendations for which amplifier to use with each woofer. And it's written like you were enjoying a steak with a glass of wine is basically how we wrote those. So you've got recommendations there. If you're a sales guy at a stereo shop, you can look at the side of this box, instantly know what type of power we need. If we're using an audio control amplifier, which amplifiers does audio control recommend? And then if I'm going to grab a prefabricated enclosure at the shelf, what size box do I need? Between those couple of things and your mounting depth, there's not really a whole lot else that your average sales guy needs to know to grab a woofer and match it up in a store. If you're looking for really nerdy specs, that's a prototype box there, but normally there's a QR code that's shown right there in that blank space. That QR code will take them to the owner's manual, which has every spec anybody could possibly want. There's all your dimensions, stuff like that. So like I said, these are great, just, everyday, what I call daily driver subwoofer.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And yes, this is like you say, this is just a pre-production boxes for now.
Correct.
So yeah, they're gonna.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a few things on those boxes that are gonna be, slightly off from what you guys just saw right now. Like there's no QR code on there, and some of the specs are probably a little off, but you guys get the idea. We wanted to give you all a sneak peek of what this is gonna look like. So
yeah, they're hot off the press, man.
Legit.
Yeah. Literally, printed this morning.
Yeah.
I didn't want to show you guys a plain white box on the show. So
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this one.
Yeah. The next series we're going to talk about is the Space Series. So Jeff's got the 10 in his hand. I have the 12-inch here in my hands. This is your Space Series.
Let me bring you up here in the big.
Okay, cool. This is the Space Series. So these are a slimline or thin mounting subwoofer. Obviously save space, but still get all that bass that you need. They're a pretty cool design. They've got a nice look to that glyph in the middle. The AC logo actually almost looks like kind of like a CD, the back of a disc or something. It's got little groove grinds in it, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's raised up. It's got a really cool, slick design. They're very simple. They're very clean. Again, that's very audio control in my opinion. Like we're not going to have chrome flames and blue lights and a bunch of stuff on there. So we try to keep it simple.
I was going to say, we tried the blue lights, man. You say that, and you did.
Tried for flames.
I love.
Oh, trust me, they'll figure out how to put flames on them. We got nothing to worry about there. There will be some ones that come back.
The other thing, grills removable too.
Yep, grills
removable.
Grills also removable.
Exactly. Yep, comes with it. So basically, our plan is every subwoofer comes with a grill. You do not ever need to buy them separately. If I see somebody asking, will we sell them separately? I'm sure we will at some point. That'll be part of the plan later. So with these Space Series subwoofers too, these subs again are going to hit a pretty competitive spot for us. These are a slimline woofer. The 12-inch sub handles up to 600 watts RMS. It's a lot of power handling for a slimline woofer. If you go out and do the comparisons, look at the big guys out there, look at some of the other brands, start looking at their power handling, and then compare specs and pricing. That 12-inch sub, the Space Series, we're calling it, is going to sell for about $220 to $250 in most stores. So very competitively priced. Dean's showing off that cool space dust infused basket there. Now that's just us being silly.
Funny. I was just thinking, it's so sparkly.
It is. When we were getting this paint color chosen, I said I'm looking for bass boat, like lowrider metal flake, and I think we got pretty close. You can see the little spaceship going around there. It's one of those little Easter eggs we love to include on our stuff. To answer the question on the screen, all the grills are metal, no plastic, and they are a different design. They're different from Space Series to Spike Series. So the Space Series is a little more conservative grill. The openings are a little smaller. The Spike Series is a little bit more aggressive grill. The hexagons are a little bit bigger.
Yep.
So no vented pull piece on this one.
No. So
Correct.
the key feature on these guys is the radial venting right below the spider, where the voice coil would pump cool air in and out. But because there isn't a vented pole piece, now you can actually sit this woofer on the back of the enclosure, not have to worry about having that gap for the airflow to be constricted. Yep. So now you can go extremely slim enclosures, right, in order to have, these fit into some really tight places. So that was the entire thought process in that feature.
And one other cooling feature on the Slims is if you look at the backside of the dust or of the cone, you'll actually see there's some little round vents in there. So it's actually drawing air out a number of different ways. So to be clear, guys, these are not off-the-shelf woofers that we grabbed from some manufacturer overseas and said, hey, put our name on this. We did design these woofers. So features like that are things that we wanted to implement and our speaker designer, acoustic engineer implemented. So You can kind of see them there. The camera's having a hard time focusing, it looks like, but yeah, you can kind of see them. You can also see the structural ridges and things like that. So
one guy.
Okay.
Hold on.
there's those. You can kind of almost. Yep, there we go. There we go. Now you can see them. Yep, and then the Space Series has those woven tinsel leads as well into the Spider. So it's a nice design. Again, single voice coils, guys. So single 2 or single 4 ohm coils, keeping it simple. They're available in a 10 or 12 in the shallow series, in the Space Series. You can interpret space a lot of different ways. Space saving, outer space, Space Needle, like Seattle. Just saying. Try to keep it with Pacific Northwest audio control stuff. Will there be an 8-inch slim woofer one day? Maybe. On initial launch, those space subs are shipping now, so you can start to order those and get those now. Those are the first ones that are starting to ship. Last thing I'll mention on the Space Series, just before we wrap up that kind of part of it, is once these are mounted onto a enclosure or fiberglass or whatever it is that they're getting mounted to, they actually are weather resistant. So I wouldn't call them weatherproof, but the face of these woofers will hold up to moisture or spray from those or something just as well as most companies' power sports or marine woofers. So we're not calling them an ACX woofer. Maybe that'll come later one day. But as of right now, these would be considered weatherproof or weather resistant. So there's the difference. You can see the smaller holes on the Space Series and the larger openings, the hexagon openings on the Spike Series. We wanted the Spike to be a little bit more aggressive, and the Space Series will look right at home, underneath the back seat of a truck or in the side panel of a kind of factory style enclosure, something like that. So the the slim woofers, to answer your question on the screen, the slim woofers can go in vented enclosures, which is pretty cool. Most companies, or a lot of companies anyway, don't do vented application for slim woofers, and we do have it for these.
Yep.
So.
Oh boy.
Getting your exercise.
Pretty cool, right?
No, it's there's only we have to
get your steps in.
We have to get your steps in, and this is exciting stuff. So woofers, we have woofers, and as we saw while I was over there slowly panning over the grills, accidentally tipping it up. As we said, as teasing this show, and there's one more thing, because it just goes without reason. There's no way that we're gonna do, and I say we're, and I mean you, are gonna come out with a subwoofer line and not go crazy. We've been asked to be very gentle with what we're going to show you next. So for those of you that have children in the room, you may want to set them aside as the excitement that is going to just pour off of you. They're like, Daddy, what's wrong? We're going to tease you with this because there's even more to come. But this is what they're going to let us show today. And they're doing, I had to beg for you guys, because I wanted you guys to see this, because this is really exciting. You ready? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm gonna jump over to Fernando. Matthew, if you want to talk during this, by all means, please feel free. Jeff, if you'd like to chime in.
So we have coming very soon the new Pacific Northwest series, or PNW series, speaker line from AudioControl. So these are our full line of component and coaxial speakers. We're not going to dive in super deep into features today and all the different models and all that stuff. We're going to kind of save that for another show. But we did want to give you guys a sneak peek at kind of what's coming. So this would be our 6.5-inch coaxial set. You can see they're point source coaxes, so no tweeter protrusion. They're a really nice design. And one of the coolest things is, again, with all audio control products is always value. These are a badass set of speakers, especially for what you're going to pay for them, how much power they handle, how good they sound, the materials that we used. They're soft silk dome tweeters. Can't wait for you guys to see some of the components and stuff maybe in a later show. Again, we'll tease that a little bit. We don't want to go too deep, but you can see the little Pacific Northwest symbol on the box there, the little tree, mountain, and water, kind of representing the Pacific Northwest. Here's one of the component sets. Again, we're not going to go too deep into what we have here, but I think you guys get the idea. We've got some pretty cool, high quality stuff coming your way. So, nice aluminum housed tweeters, laser etched logos, some really cool stuff coming. The crossovers, the LF1 and HF1, for all you installers out there who have ever had to put a passive crossover in the kick panel because your tweeter was in the A-pillar and your mid-bass woofer was in the door, things like that, it can be a pain having to run wire back and forth, especially in some of the newer cars. So we're actually giving you separate crossovers for high frequency and low frequency. The crossovers also come out of their housing. So if you had to separate them and take them out of the metal and heat shrink them, zip tie them, something like that, you definitely can. The low frequency crossover also has an output to feed the high frequency crossover if you're going to put them next to each other. But we'll get into that stuff later. You're seeing the mid-bass driver from the 6x9 component right now. You might dig that clear dust cap. That is a laser etched AudioControl logo on the top of the pole piece. So you've got just a cool look to it as well. I mean, obviously looks don't really do anything for sound, but we want to make sure these look as good as they sound. So, as far as the comments about the magnet size, etc., they are a good size magnet. These are not a neo magnet. These are a big, strong magnet. However, we did test fit these in a multitude of applications. Dean is showing you right now that they're a 3 ohm driver. We did that on pretty much the entire PNW line. And this was just to get you a little bit more power from your aftermarket factory system, whatever you got going on. These are also all rated to work with our amplifiers. So if you've ever used an AudioControl amp, you know that we, sometimes deliver 120, 100 watts or 125 watts per channel on the full range. These are speakers that are designed to handle it. As far as the magnet size, though, on that conversation, we have tested these in all of the popular trucks, the Rams, the Fords, the Chevys, the Toyotas, etc. The 6.5s, making sure they fit in the Jeep pod, things like that. We've already done that testing. They do fit. So yes, they're not tiny, just like our amplifiers are not tiny. We don't make little tiny micro, amplifiers that claim to do things that they don't. We make stuff that actually works and is going to work for the vast majority.
Now, for those of you that are going to be going to Knowledge Fest, there will be a car.
There will be a car.
There will be a car.
What time is it?
Yes.
There will be a car.
There will be a car. There will be also pretty much every model on display. So for any of you coming to Knowledge Fest, you're like, oh man, they didn't show the 3.5 or the 6.5 component or whatever it is that you want to see. You can come see those, touch, feel, hear, experience, see the pricing on all of them, all that good stuff. So there's some cool stuff.
Special next week.
Yeah.
End of next
week, buddy. Come on, man.
Yep. Get to building, Jeff. Chop, chop.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing here.
Sun's still out, so
there's a lot of questions coming up in the comments too, and I don't want to I don't know if we're trying to answer every single one, but
no. So here's the thing. The subwoofers are going to be available now.
Space are available.
Space ships now.
Are available now. So if you're building that truck box and you want to get that shallow AudioControl, you can do it. Those are available now. They're starting to ship. Are they shipping now, or they're already shipped?
Yep. Space Series is shipping now. They're in inventory now.
Okay.
Yep.
To be followed up by the
Spike Series.
So those will be shipping
later this month, early next month.
So the speakers are not all in stock yet.
Correct.
So what's going to happen, and the reason why we're teasing those is because between what Jeff is doing and what's in the warehouse, we didn't have the whole line here. So we didn't want to sit here. And so we're going to come back probably in a month or two.
Yep.
And we're going to go over all of it. But like I said, there's one more thing. I wanted you guys to see this. I had to I'm not going to say I had to beg.
we had to beg.
Trust me, we were begging up to the last minute to be like, come on, man, we got to show these guys. Yeah. So we wanted to make sure you at least got to see what it is that there is, that one more thing. So, and if you think that's it, it's not, because there's even more stuff that we'll get to show in like a month. So that's even more sexy. But, and don't, of course, it's not like we won't have cameras.
If they're planning a system out, wait a little bit. You'll be able to have amplifiers, DSP, subwoofers, and full range drivers.
So a full system.
Full system.
Finally, full system. Yeah. And you could use a high 10 from Stinger to feed optical into your DSP, and away you go.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So.
So
There's so many questions and comments coming up right now that I want to dig into and answer, but I know we don't have time, and I'm not going to. But it's so tempting to dig into all of them.
Yeah, I know which one you're looking at, and it's just let it go.
No, there's more than just that one. There's so many that I'm like, oh man, I would love to spend 20 minutes on this, but I know we'll save that for another show. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and there again, so some of the questions that you're asking, and they're totally valid, and there again, we'd love to dig into them, but we can't because
that's why it's called a tease.
Yeah,
we can't.
Exactly.
And they're so but hey, listen, thank you guys so much. Oh, go ahead.
I do have to say there's one very important question, and that is, will Jeff Smith be on display, or is he discontinued product? He will absolutely be on display. Full display. Yes, Elias asked that.
It will be in his Speedo.
$20 is $20.
5 pounds. 5 pounds.
Hey, it's like we started the show. It comes full circle.
Hey guys, thank you so much for spending your evening with us and letting us bring you this cool new product that Fernando and I are. And I know you guys, but for us, you guys sharing it with us means a lot, and I'm glad we got to bring it to our audience. Thank you so much. We had a great time. As promised, we got you to see that one more thing. And, dude, we have been playing with the 8-inch in Fernando's car for a couple days now. Yeah. So we'll be releasing a video on our thoughts on that here shortly. And that's really it. If you guys got anything you want to add?
No, man, we appreciate you guys for letting us come on, man, and do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the time. This was cool to be able to at least give a sneak peek of everything, and it's been so hard to keep our mouths closed. Like I said, that is not in AudioControl's DNA at all.
No,
and so
no, not at all.
It's the first time ever I think we actually kept our mouths shut.
We only talked.
It's very few.
5 channel for 2 years before it came out.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, and that's what I was shooting to not do, was that. So I think we pulled it off.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, stay tuned for more. You can follow us over on Instagram. You can follow AudioControl on Instagram. There's a lot of things you can do. Facebook, all that.
Yeah,
we'll be back, of course, Friday morning with the news, and Saturday we'll be back to talk about more exciting stuff. And, of course, if there's any questions that you guys want to save till then, feel free. We'll do the unofficial questions.
We will have Jeff Smith again, so he can answer all your questions.
New T-shirts.
New T-shirts.
For what? AudioControl?
Speakers and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That would be
Yeah.
New T-shirts.
Yeah.
There you go. Now Matthew has more work to do.
Imagine a Spike Series subwoofer T-shirt. Could be some cool retro stuff going on there.
A whole Bob Ross Pacific Northwest scene.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah.
I mean, Bob Ross doesn't own Bob Ross, so I mean, I'm sure we go to town on that.
We got Dan Spore, so we got
no doubt.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
you guys
you,
have
Matthew.
a great
Thank you,
evening,
Jeff.
as always, and we'll see you later next time.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.